This is Bloomberg Businessweek Daily with Carol Masser and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio and Television.
Hey, speaking of tariffs, Carol Masser.
We've got a good guest to talk about this.
Yeah, as we reported earlier, the EU is working on a proposal to introduce restrictions on some exports to the U.S. as a possible retaliatory tactic in the expansive trade war that President Trump initiated last month. I think a lot of people are hoping, well, I hope wine is not included.
Well, let's see what our next guest has to say. Back with us is Mandy Naglich. She's a writer, a consultant, an expert in beer, wine, and food, has the certifications to prove it. She is a certified taster. She's also the author of How to Taste, a Guide to Discovering Flavor and Savoring Life. We have a few wine bottles, which we all need on this Thursday. Mandy, good to have you here. Thank you for listening through the president's comments. He's talking a lot about tariffs. What are you hearing from your world, whether it's beer, wine, or food, because everybody is watching what's coming out of Washington and what it might mean for their business?
Well, first of all, it's great to be back.
Great to have you.
Not the most exciting thing to talk about, not the most fun thing, but I think
for us,
for
tariffs?
we love to talk about the wine tariffs.
Well, wine. Yeah.
I think what people don't realize and what's going through the industry right now is it's not just the wine coming into the country that's tariffed, it's also every piece of the supply chain. So 60% of cork is going to be coming from Portugal. Wow. The other 20% is coming from Spain. That's getting tariffed before, it's even, if it's coming to America to make cork bottles, we're getting tariffed there. We're getting tariffed on imports. So it's not even like, oh, we're going to switch to California wine.
Right.
Glass bottles come from China, which are obviously getting tariffed like crazy. French oak barrels are essential to a lot of Napa Valley's flavor profiles. So, we're really going to see the whole supply chain get tariffed before even thinking about our French wines that we're missing out on.
In the industry in the U.S., at least, is also really struggling right now for a host of reasons. So what are you hearing from them about how they're dealing with this? Is it higher prices? Is it passing along to consumers? We had a story last week about champagne. A champagne bar in New York that's like thinking about pouring 10% less so they don't have to raise prices. Like, how are they going to do this?
Right. And what's really difficult, too, is things like bourbon, right? They're made in America. They're going around the world. Bourbon is being boycotted in Canada right now. They're saying we're only going to drink Canadian whiskey. I'm actually going to Canada next week for the world's 50 best bars ceremony. And some of the bourbon sponsors aren't going to be able to serve their own bourbon at these events because it's being boycotted in Canada. It can't come in. We're looking at retaliatory tariffs. So every sector is kind of dealing with it differently, right? It's whether it's figuring out new partnerships, figuring out new supply chains in the U.S., or it's pouring less, stockpiling, things like that. I think a lot of people, we're going to see people going to auctions, drinking old wine that might have been in their cellar until we get through this time.
I mean, we talk about global supply chains all the time. We talk about the auto sector and so on and so forth. I mean, that is true within this industry as well when you think about wine.
Right, definitely. And I think, also it being Earth Month, like we've been trying to think about things being more sustainable and how the industry can survive generally before even this huge wrench with all the tariffs.
It's almost 5 o'clock, Carol. Why don't we have a drink?
Tell us what we've got. We're doing a condensed version, so we appreciate the rapidity with which we are going through things. But tell us what you brought us.
Yeah, so I have 3 different very sustainable spirits. We're coming up to Earth Day. If you want your bar at home to be a little bit more sustainable, these are great options. What I was talking about with bottles is the least sustainable part of your wine, period. About 30% of the carbon footprint of any wine or spirit is coming from the bottle.
Really?
We actually have a brand new vodka new to the U.S. this week.
I thought it was water when you brought it in. And then
I wouldn't be making you drink water.
And then Tim's
this
like,
time.
did you smell this?
Does not smell like water.
So if you're smelling it, though, it doesn't really smell like a typical vodka. Is there anything you're kind of picking up here?
It smells like what?
It has an edge of apple. It's actually made from Yorkshire apples in the UK. This is Dutch Barn, brand new to the US. It's Ricky Gervais is a partner in the business. And basically by using something that's natural in the UK, using something that grows, the apples, the Yorkshire apples.
That's interesting.
You're saving a lot on pesticides, a lot on water. And then if you look at this bottle, we have a brown recycled bottle here.
Right.
Which is 65% recycled glass. So that's why it's brown. You don't normally see vodka in a brown bottle, but this is reusing glass to have that kind of brown. Any kind of glass can go into this mold and make the brown bottles.
Sauvignon Blanc. Let's go there.
Sauvignon Blanc, yes.
But you only got about 20 seconds.
Okay, well.
This is the
fast
version.
This is Sauvignon Blanc is super popular in the U.S. right now, and you can see on the back of this label, you'll see that it's a New Zealand sustainable wine. New Zealand is one of the most sustainable wine industries that we have. This Sauvignon Blanc is in a lighter bottle again, so it costs less energy to ship it, less energy to recycle the bottle if it's recycled. In the US, 65% of our drinking bottles don't get recycled.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, I was just at a summit in Barcelona, and they said when they did a festival in Miami at the Paradiso Summit, they said that only 10% of drinking bottles in Miami are recycled, period.
That's
and
terrible.
It will be a million years that your bottle is in the landfill. So
Okay.
most of these bottles, they're in the landfill for our lifetime.
Carol, we only have 20 seconds. You gotta chug it.
We can't get to the red.
That's okay.
We've really got to wrap up. Come back soon.
Yes.
You have been.
It does smell very good.
Yeah,
I know. It just as soon as I'm done, 30 seconds, I'm out of here with my wine. Mandy Naglich, thank you so much. Check out her book, How to Taste: A Guide to Discovering Flavor and Savoring Life. We always learn something, and we really, what you talked about in terms of the wine supply chain, big deal. Folks, have a good and safe evening.